Hi, everyone, and welcome back from a very long hiatus of To Whom It May Concern Hood Professionals. I am your esteemed hostess, AP, and today I have with me a very special guest. I've been knowing him since my days of adolescence. At college, my freshman year, I have Mr. Brandon King. Brandon, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Like she said, I am Brandon King, and yes, we have known each other for some years now. College days, a lot of fun. But yes, I am the owner of ES Consulting Agency, where our goal is very simple, and that's to help people.
Excellent. And so today our topic is surrounding the intimidation of job hunting. Especially now during this pandemic in 2020, job hunting has become very, I want to say, even more complex. If it was possible for
Mhm.
job hunting to become more complex, the pandemic with COVID-19, with the administration that we're currently exiting out of, there are just
Yes.
a lot of factors that have to deal with that. And specifically for me, moving back to the state of Alabama, where I feel like there is little creativity when it comes to employment opportunities. There's like very like narrow boxes that you
Mhm.
fit in, and if you're outside of those like set boundaries, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to fit in. And I'm sure that there's probably the same issue in other states. I
Yeah.
just haven't lived in them to know. I just know this one for myself. So, yeah, I definitely want to do this podcast because it was something near and dear to me, something that I have been going through. I struggled a little bit with being able to showcase this type of vulnerability because y'all are some savages sometimes, you know. So, it's a little hard to like, open up my heart
Mhm.
and under Adam's voice and let you know what's going on this end. But I am in the process of job hunting, and it can very well be intimidating, especially when you're reading job description. So, Brandon, tell me, what is one of the things that you tell clients when they first come to you, when they're coming to you saying, "Hey, I hate my job.
Mhm.
I want to change, but I'm also very much so intimidated by the jobs that I see that I want that don't necessarily match up with what I've been doing." How do you talk to them about transferable skills and really calming their fears about going after what they want?
Okay, so that's a real good question, and like you said, you are in the job market looking to get another job. I myself found myself back in the job market after 10 years back in April, so I totally understand how that feels. And yeah, it is intimidating. When you brought up like the current political climate, when you're interviewing, you may not know, and of course, you shouldn't bring politics into the office, but with tensions being so high, you don't know how that person feels about what's going on, and your views may be different. Um, and with so much going on social media, of course, sometimes jobs check that. So I actually went in a situation where I knew I was going to interview for a lady, and I found her Twitter profile. I think it was her Twitter profile, and it was very
Mhm.
pro, soon to be previous, presidency, and it intimidated me. I'm like, well, I'm not in line with that, but I definitely want the job. But here's the thing, and this is where I tell people: if you're unhappy in a job, it's the perfect time to go ahead and look. Um, Now, there are jobs out there. There are plenty of jobs. But what I tell my clients is, don't be afraid to switch career fields. And when I say that, it may not be moving into something brand new. It may be moving
Mhm.
into a skill that you had before. I'll
Mhm.
use myself as an example. When I got another job, I used to work corporate training, and then I moved into business operations for outsourcing. But when I got my job,
Mhm.
I had to move back into corporate training in order to secure a position. So people may have other skills that they have used 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You may have to go
Mhm.
back and bring those skills to the forefront to try to get yourself into a job. I had one client that At one point when the pandemic first started, one of the hot jobs was contact tracing. Didn't take a lot of skill. You didn't have to have a lot of experience. They were pretty much letting anybody in just due to the need. But then it quickly changed to there was too many people applying for the jobs.
Right.
But this client, years ago, and I'll say like in the early 2000s, had worked in public health. So when I did her resume, I did kind of like a relevant skill section, and I moved those public health skills to the top so the recruiter would see those first outside of her most current jobs. And she was able to get in and get a job relatively quickly in that field. So I would say, don't be too intimidated. Go for it if you're unhappy. See if you can find something else, and leverage your other skills in order to get yourself in the door. Also, knowing that if you get into the door in one area, you don't have to stay there. You can move into the other
Mm-hmm.
places or the companies, or just move to another company altogether.
Excellent. Thanks, Brandon, on that. I really feel like one of the things that definitely that I've seen, I was able to like, I'm always researching. I'm connected into like work for good because my background is predominantly
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit. So I'm always trying to stay connected with newsletters and organizations that are speaking on what are the current trends, the things that are changing. And I really try to stay plugged into what is happening, what's going on, regardless of what sector I'm in my
Mm-hmm.
life. And one thing I found with a particular consultant agency via Instagram, it said L Career Services. She was speaking on sometimes we wait until we're ready, until we get that interview or until we're ready to start looking for another job to update our resume. And as you know, I'm sure with your clients, you know that that is the process that they dread. Otherwise, I mean, they wouldn't come to you if it was something they were like, "Oh, I love
Right.
this." Otherwise, they wouldn't be coming to you for this.
Exactly.
So, what do you say to those people who have possibly been in a job for 5 plus years? How often should we actually be updating our resume?
Okay, good question. And I think that she is right on in this process. I would say if you're in a job, let's say you're in a job that does multiple different projects or you're working different contracts. If your job is constantly moving to something new, then I would say you need to update your resume once a quarter. Now, if you
Mm,
have a job that you pretty much do the same thing, you process files or whatever it is all year, I would say then once a year. But I would say for this, if you are in a job right now, and you are even just the slightest bit concerned about your job stability, now is the time to
mhm,
update that resume. Um, I ran into this when I lost my job. Um, when you are in the job, you have access to reports, files, things like that that you can pull
mhm,
numbers and data from that you could go ahead and start building
mhm.
your resume versus trying to use your mind and think back, well, did I do this? Did I do that? No, do it now and pull it out of the computer while you have access to it. That is so, so, so helpful. Even if you're still going to hire a consultant like myself to do it for you, having those numbers, those projects, those achievements ready to go makes the project so much easier. So either once a year or once a quarter. Um, and if you're going to look before you actually switch jobs or you're afraid about your job stability, go ahead and pull all of that data as much as you can right now.
And I'm glad that you spoke on the data purposes. When I was laid off from my job, like when like my dream
Uh-huh.
job back in 2018, luckily and thankfully for me, I was given a severance package that also included resume development professional services.
Good.
And it was the first time in a long time that I had someone saying, okay, let's quantify.
Mm-hmm.
Let's file your resume. Give me
Yep.
numbers. That was the first time I had ever come into contact with that. So what do you say to individuals? Because I've worked a job when I moved to another state last year, and I worked a job where it was a toxic environment. I can say that now because I'm no longer employed there and I've been gone for some time. It was a toxic environment. And it was an environment where information was not readily available for you to be able to quantify your skill set and the things that you had accomplished in that position. So how do you go about being able to express that in numbers when you don't necessarily have the information to input that on your resume to show recruiters exactly what you did in that
That is
position?
an excellent question. So here we go. Very, very basic. And I suggest this to all of my clients. Keep a journal, something very, very simple. Okay. Keep a journal and notate whatever it is that you do, whether it's projects, number of people that you manage, whether you deal with benefits on the job or you deal with, reducing budgets. Just start writing out those numbers and have those numbers ready to go. Write down dates, write down
Mm-hmm.
the amounts, what type of project was it for? Because when you're dealing with a consultant, that's their job, in my opinion, that's their job to bring those numbers to life. I go in and
Mm-hmm.
I ask general questions, and then I use the information that I'm giving to build out the story. Because for me, when I'm writing a resume, I'm telling a story. I'm telling a short snapshot of somebody's career. So I would say just write it out, be simple. Don't overthink it. Or if it's better for you to put it all in a spreadsheet, whatever work, but use some type of tracking mechanisms. Put in all the numbers, but just know what the numbers associated to or with, and then use your
Mm-hmm.
consultant to actually build it together to make it make sense. And I'll just say this much: when it comes to writing resumes, and not just writing, but from the recruiting aspect, you have about 6 to 9 seconds to sell yourself on a resume. So when I say that, when you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to quantify numbers, we don't need big long paragraphs trying to tell the story. Just a simple, this is what I
Mm-hmm.
did, this is what I was able to improve, and this is what it did to the company. Real short and sweet, because you just want them to read it real quick and be like, okay, that's great. Boom, we're going to interview this person. Because that's basically how it works. Not a lot of jobs sit there and read every single word on your resume. And then if you add in the aspect
Mm-hmm.
that we're in this pandemic and job postings can get several thousand responses, nobody's going to sit there and read every single word on that resume. They need quick hits. So if I'm building a resume, I need quick numbers. What was it? What did it do? How did it help the business? When did you do it? That's all I need.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Brandon. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm, like I said, things change, times change, things that were, popping and happening in the 70s and 80s and early 90s aren't necessarily what's going on now in 2020, especially, technology evolves, um, job sectors have evolved. There are new and more creative opportunities out there for others to explore their different talents and different
Mm-hmm.
skill sets. Back possibly when we were coming up, we were told we needed like 5 to 6
Mm-hmm.
resumes. And now what I'm seeing, everyone is harping on the applicant tracking system. Am I
Yes.
saying that right?
Yep.
The
You got it.
ATS? Okay. So, do you need multiple resumes? And if not, how are you to create a resume that is going to hit what you need when you're applying for jobs? Okay, so that's part A. And then part B is, are you simply just applying for jobs that you feel like match up with your
Okay,
resume?
all right, that's a big one. So let's start with the multiple resumes. Okay, I would say this when it comes to resumes, it's actually on both sides. Okay, so do you need multiple
Mm-hmm.
resumes? I won't say you need five, but to me, it goes back to your skill set. So my skills, as far as
Mm-hmm.
for like a job, would be corporate training and vendor operations. So I have a corporate training resume and I have a vendor operations resume. Even though the jobs on them are the same, I will highlight different keywords and key terms on each one as it applies to that
Mm-hmm.
side. So for me personally, I only really have two resumes that I use. So for me, the one
Okay.
size fit all can work because I have used
Mm-hmm.
like one job I got interviewed with for the state. I was up late. I saw a job online. I posted for it. I don't even remember. like really updating the resume. I just had one up on my screen and I submitted it and I got an interview. So I didn't even do anything different to be able to get in on that job. It just happened that way. But when it comes to having multiples, just look at your skill set. If you got 5 different skills, then maybe you need 5. But look at your strongest 2 skill sets, or if you just have one skill set and that's all that you do, then one should suffice. Attaching the ATS, the applicant tracking system, to it, that's the first thing that you have to beat in order to try to get an interview. And I won't even say an interview, for even to get the recruiter to even look at your resume, you got to beat the ATS. So this is what I say: once you have your resume for that job, print off the job description. This is the way I go about it. Print it off, highlight the key terms that you see in there, and make sure that you blend those key terms into your resume. ATS systems love numbers. Put numbers in there. That's why we hop on numbers so much. Put those numbers in there and make sure that the skills match. And one thing, and I think I'm giving away a little bit of what I do with my resumes and why they're successful. But like I said, at ES Consulting, my goal here is to help people. I always include a title line in a resume. A lot of people don't do this. The first thing that people see on the resumes that I create after your address is, this is who I am, this is what I do. And it's not in a paragraph. It's just a simple title line. That title line should be similar to the job posting's title. You want to get a good match of the two, because you're already saying, hey, we're hiring for my industry. We're hiring for a corporate trainer. Okay, if you have trained classes in a corporate environment, put corporate trainer on the top of your resume, even if your job title may not have been corporate trainer. It could have been training manager, something like that, but match it. Don't lie, but make it similar enough so that they pick up on it and it beats the ATS and the recruiter actually wants to look at it.
Oh, excellent.
Little free game.
Okay. And you know what? And that was something I thought about. I was like, I don't want Brandon to feel like he's on here giving up his information for free. But here's the reality, Brandon. Even when sometimes when you give people free game, they still are too lazy to follow through with it. So you're still gonna get business. If anything from this, I just want the opportunity to show people that there are people out here who absolutely positively know what they're talking about. Like you yourself were saying, you, due to the pandemic, you were affected by it, causing you to lose your job, but you were able to recuperate, utilize these skill sets that you are offering services for, and actually got, was able to find new employment. So that's different. It'd be different if you were on here talking about, oh, I do e-consulting,
right,
and you ain't got no job. So that's different. And I'd be like, okay, you are you sure you wanna get on this call and talk about? Yeah, it's a little different. So I just know that free game is that's cool, but know that everybody isn't going to, get it while it's free. They're gonna pay for it, and that's what we want. In the gist of it all, that's what we want, because when you have to pay for, tend to take it a little bit more.
You got it.
Seriously.
You got it.
So here are some things that I was reading up on, and people are saying these are no longer put this on your resume. Things like communication, team player, strong work ethic, time management, and leadership skills. What the hell is going on? I thought that these were like the things that people wanted to know. How you gonna tell me now these things don't matter?
Okay,
What's up
so
with that?
Here we go. When it comes to a resume, like I said, you only got 6 to 9 seconds to sell yourself. In the times when I have hired people, if you're applying for my job and your resume actually made it to me, the hiring manager, you should already know how to communicate. You should already be a team player. You should already have communication skills. You should know how to use Microsoft Office. That is not a selling point. You better know how to use the Word already.
I feel attacked. I feel attacked. But
So
go ahead.
those
Go
things are
ahead.
not necessary, y'all. And like I said, 6 to 9 seconds. You have to look at your resume like real estate. And most recruiters are not going to read that whole thing. Don't waste valuable space talking about that you are a great communicator. If you make it to my interview, you better be a great communicator. So leave that space for something else. Show me how you helped the business. Show me how you created a plan. You've created XYZ return on investment. Show me things that can quantify your skill set. Don't tell me that you know how to use Excel. Yeah, that don't help.
Pros. Okay. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. So that's how that goes. Just make sure that you're taking that time to sell yourself on your resume, and don't put stuff like that on there. It really don't help.
Okay, so that's great. Okay, so let's talk about some red flags that scare recruiters.
Okay.
Wait. I'm gonna slow down. Let me slow down. The cover letter,
Okay.
because sometimes I feel like the cover letter is it's a lost art. I personally appreciate the cover letter. I love a cover letter. I feel like it gives me an opportunity to showcase my personality. It allows me to talk about who I am in a way that I'm able to convey my passion for the particular sector that that I've worked with, or the demographic that I work with. How did I want how I don't even know. I see the word. How how Neanderthal how Neanderthal is the cover letter? Is it still important? Because some people say even when it's optional, you should absolutely positively send a cover letter. What is your take on the
My
cover
take
letter?
on the cover letter: 2 points. Number one, I've never seen anybody get a job because of a cover letter. Number one. Okay.
Oh,
Number two, I always offer cover letters to my clients, and this is why. And this is why they say you should still include one. If you are applying for a job and it gives you an option to attach or include a cover letter, please include a cover letter, especially if it is optional. Okay. A lot of things happen through
mm-hmm,
applications, and the goal is to weed people out. Let's say you have a job
mm-hmm,
posting and you get 500 applicants and you only have one recruiter and there's one job. The recruiter is not going to go through all of those applications and resumes. What they're going to do is starting to cut down the amount of people that they actually consider. In one way they cut down, if there's too
mm-hmm.
many applicants, is okay, 100 of these people don't have a cover letter, dump all of those resumes. We're not even going to look at them because they didn't put in the effort. It kind of works the same way when you apply for a job and you get, and then they tell you to put in your work history. Hello?
Oh, thank you, y'all. I so apologize. Again, I am in Bama and my family resides in the boonies, so I do apologize for that break. Brandon, we were discussing the cover letter. You were do you remember where you left off at?
Yes, I was saying that cover letters, one, I've never seen anybody get a job from a cover letter alone. Two, if it's optional, include one, because if you don't, sometimes recruiters use that as a way to filter out applicants if they have too many. So put in a cover letter. Um, and lastly, think about it like this. A lot of times when you have a lot of applicants for a job, they're looking for ways to weed people out to get down to the top candidate or candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me think about when you go through and you submit a resume, and then on the next page it's like input your work history. They're looking for people to stop the application process if they're really not interested. So
And
those
believe
measures.
they made people like me because I'd be like, what the heck?
Yeah, they only want the most interested people. So if the job process to apply for some people is too cumbersome, a lot of people just be like, forget it. And of course, you won't get the job, but those things are done intentionally. So if you're really interested in the job, you have to jump through those hoops with hopes that you will get an interview.
See, and that's the thing. You jump through them hoops, and then them folks send you an email talking about, oh,
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much, but we decided to move on with more qualified candidates. You'd be like, man, I just spent 2 weeks of my life filling out all of these little boxes.
Yep.
I think that's the thing, because the rejection that comes
Mm-hmm.
along with after you've put so much time and effort into an application, and to get a rejection, it's like, you know what, man, I'm not doing it no more.
Yep.
I'm only gonna apply for easy job applicants where I can just go on Indeed or LinkedIn and it says easy apply. Like, it literally says
Yep.
easy apply. You're like, yep, that's the job for me. I'm gonna take that one. That one right there. That's the
Yes, it's job hunting. Searching for a job, applying for a job is a job in itself. It is time consuming. It gets
mm,
old. You get a lot of rejection. I mean,
well.
so I started my company in the midst of the pandemic while I wasn't working. Since then, I've gotten another job, but I would say like midway through, I think I was not working for like 6 months. Midway through, I applied for a job, and here we are now, like 3 months later, I just got a decline from this company. I was like, are you serious? I forgot all about this job.
Okay.
So, but y'all listen, it happens. It happens, and it really depends on your job situation. Were you like me, not working and needed a 9 to 5 again? Then you just
Mm-hmm.
got to go through it. If you have a job and you're just looking, then hey, you can play with your job search a little bit. It just
Mm-hmm.
depends on what your need is in that job search. Everybody's situation is different.
Right.
I even got to one point that when I was applying for jobs, I was like, look, it was certain companies that I was like, yeah, I'm not applying with them no more. I'm done with it. And I just moved
Mm-hmm.
on, and I was still able to find something. So you got to figure out your job search way, and also realize that there are other ways to find jobs other than just the traditional, these job websites that can sometimes help and sometimes harm, in my opinion, at the same time.
I know it, like, so I follow your consulting business both on Facebook and Instagram. Shameless plug ES Consulting.
Agency.
You agency. You can find it on Instagram and on Facebook. And at one point you gave a tip where you said, okay, so once you find the job on a site like Indeed, they need to sponsor me, on like Indeed or LinkedIn, go take it a step further and go to the actual company's website and see what they have online. Why do you say this?
Oh gosh, that is so important. And when you are somebody who is in that job search and it's getting to be a lot and you're getting those no's, you got to find different ways to ease the process. This is why you do that. Because sometimes companies like Glassdoor, Indeed, and all these other job posting sites will have a job posted, but the company itself has closed the job posting, whether they got enough applicants or they filled the job or they decided not to just hire the position at all, which I see a lot of that happening now. But
Mm-hmm.
the job posting site will still have it listed. So you go through the
Mm-hmm.
process, you adjust your resume, you click on the link to go there, and it's like the page no longer exists. Please
Mm.
don't waste your time going through these job posting sites. Go to the actual company, see if you can find that job posting and apply there. And I'll give another tip. Um, in recruiting, sometimes those job applications come in buckets. You'll have a bucket from Craigslist, from Indeed, and then you have your bucket that came directly off of your website. Sometimes if
Mm-hmm.
they go through their own website's bucket of applicants and they don't get enough applicants, then they move to the other ones. So go ahead and be apply directly with the company. So if they do use that process, you're one of the first people to get seen, not an afterthought if they don't find anybody that came actually through their website. Just apply directly with them.
Oh, excellent. That is an excellent tip because I never thought of it like that way. I think sometimes, well, for me, I'll speak from my standpoint. I'm thinking because a company has a job posted on Indeed, like that's it. But for you to say that, like, no, there's Glassdoor, which I hate that website. I'll say it. Yeah, I said it. Because Lord, Glassdoor come with so many emails. My God.
I love Glassdoor.
I can't. You know what? I applied for something on Glassdoor, and to this day, in my Bronner voice, to this day, I am still getting unwanted emails. Do you understand? Yes. So Glassdoor, y'all need to change that format, bro. I don't signing up no torchlight, no torch flashlight, no orthopedic shoes for a job. No, don't do that to me. I got too many emails on that. Okay, so I think so. Let's say we have a great resume, we have a great cover letter. We have now gotten to the interview.
There
Yay!
you
Put our
go.
phone. But we think yay, but it's like that's just the beginning. Case in point, true story. Had an interview, went really well, got to a point where they wanted me to do a presentation. I know I aced that presentation. How? Because when I was done presenting my PowerPoint and talking, they were clapping.
Hmm.
Okay. Guess what? Didn't get the job. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go a step further. I said, you know what? Thank you for giving me an update on my status in this process. If you would be so, if you'd be so inclined, can you let me know what was the deciding factor in not going with me as your final decision? Crickets.
Mm-hmm.
What? How can you really read the room in order to know that you are a viable candidate for the position?
Okay, that's a good one. So first thing, to know that you are a viable candidate, if you made it to a point where you have to present or you're interviewing with the hiring manager or the manager over the hiring manager, basically, if you made it to 2 or 3 interviews, then you are a viable candidate. But this is how it goes, and this is what I've just seen in my experience. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, if you're the external candidate, a lot of times there is an internal candidate as well. And a lot of times that
Mm-hmm.
internal candidate is going to have leverage, but because pretty much everybody in that room that you interview with, they already know
Mm-hmm.
them. Okay, they already have some relationship with them. So sometimes, and I hate to say this, but just being totally honest, sometimes actually bringing in that second candidate and putting them through the interview process is only just a formality for them to be able to
Mm-hmm.
give the job to the person that they like, that already works there, that knows the job, give it to them, and then
Mm-hmm.
to say that the process wasn't biased because they interviewed 2 candidates and they took both of them up through the same process.
Shady. But
Yeah,
go ahead, Shady.
that's
I understand it. But yeah.
yeah. So that's and I've seen it happen before. When job postings come open, usually the leadership team is already talking, and these talks happen before the job posting actually comes up. Usually, a
Mm-hmm.
new position is going to come up, or somebody's leaving the company, and we know we need to backfill. So we're over here, we're having conversations. Who would be a good fit? We can talk about who would be a good fit internally because those are the only people that we know at this point because the job posting hasn't opened up externally to let other people come in and apply. So they're already trying
Right.
to talk to people and see who would be a good fit. And people are throwing out their names. They're throwing out their friend or the person that's on their
Mm-hmm.
team that they've been developing. They're throwing out their name. So they kind of already either have a couple of applicants in mind or sometimes they already have somebody picked out. They're just going to go through the process and offer that person the job.
Okay. So then here's the next thing. So another situation I had, applied for a job,
Mm-hmm.
got to the interview process, doing the initial interview. Of course, now where everything is virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Great interview. Conversation is great. I feel very confident. I'm calm, like I'm engaged. like it's a perfect fit. She's excited. She's, displaying a lot of like excitement through our conversation. Says, hold on. I just want to know, do you have a little time? I want to go ahead and expedite you on to the second round interview.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she brings someone in. They asked me literally like 2 questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Regarding like scenario questions. So I waited, and then like maybe not even an hour later, she emails me and say, "Oh, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Can you send me 2 references?" So I'm like, tongue out, maybe, you know, I'm excited now. I'm like, okay,
Right.
this is it. We moving on up, Jefferson style. So I waited a week later to follow up and say, because I have been checking in with my references. Have you heard anything? Has anybody called you? They're like, no, 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 no. So in my mind, I was like, Audrey, be realistic. This was just the first round. If she expedited you to the second round, then that means that there's a second round for other people who made it through the first round and they put them on hold for the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So I did follow up, as you should, at the other interview, to say, thank you for the interview. I really appreciate it, to, reestablish or reinstate your enthusiasm for the position. And she responded by telling me, let me give you an update on the process. We had a lot of applicants. We're still interviewing, and pretty much I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
When the communication too much? Can you over communicate? And can that leave you as can that put a bad taste in the hiring manager's mouth?
Yep, you can. So for me, I would suggest if you're going to reach out for where you are in the process, things like that, those things can help. Because I'll give one quick example. I applied for a job, didn't hear anything back. Then I got a phone call several weeks later and said that my resume had got put in the not qualified pile, but the hiring manager said, no, we put you in the wrong pile. I want to interview you. Are you still interested? I'll book a time next week. Didn't hear from him. I called him and immediately he booked me for that interview, and I was able to go interview with him and his boss. Okay. So following up
Mm-hmm.
helps. But if you have got to that point where you have followed up once and then they don't say anything or they say they will get back to you, let them allow them the time to get back to you. Okay. If they are interested,
Okay.
then they will reach out to you. To me, if I keep getting bombarded, like even if I like you as an applicant, if you keep bothering me, I'm like, look, I don't have time for this. You too thirsty for a job. I don't know what you'll do when you get in here. I'm moving on to somebody else. You can turn their perception around, and also keep this in mind. A recruiter's job is just to recruit. They're to bring in the applicants. The hiring manager is interviewing you for the job. Plus, they also have a job that they're doing day to day. Only interviewing is a
Mm-hmm.
portion of it. It's not like that. Sometimes they aren't. It's not like they aren't interested, but they have other things going on, and everybody's interview process is different. So allow them time. But I mean, I would say follow up once. If you feel strongly, maybe follow up twice. But for me, once is enough. Put it out there. Hey, where we at in the process. Let them respond. If they don't respond, move on. Cut your ties. Move. I won't say cut your ties, but cut your ties and trying to follow up on their job and move on to the next opportunity and allow those people to follow in afterwards.
Gotcha. So you pretty much just answered another question I had for you, was knowing when to give up,
Mm-hmm.
knowing when to be like, you know what, as much as I want this job, this position, it's time for me to like take my focus off of this, take this off my radar and just move on. So you're saying that once you followed up and they responded and they never reach out. So what is the time frame? Just, hypothetically or realistically, what is a time frame that you feel like you should be like, it's not happening?
Okay. So I would say time frames. When it comes, let's say you interviewed on Monday. It rolls around to Friday. You haven't heard anything back. Okay. I would reach out then.
Mm-hmm.
Give it 3 to 4 days and reach out. After you reach out, stop, move on. But when I say move on and things like give up, I mean just move on from focusing on that one job. Don't give up on the process. Just kind of move on. There are several other opportunities out here. Let me start focusing my attention on applying for the other job that I have saved here that I think is a good opportunity. So just keep moving is more so the message. I don't say, when I say like move on, like don't put the job out of your mind. Just move on to applying for other jobs, because it's, to me, applying for jobs is like an old car. Like you got to get in it. You got to get on the gas and keep pressing the gas to get it to fire up. And then eventually the key will click over and the car will start. So when it comes to jobs, just keep applying, keep posting, keep posting. You got to fire up that funnel to get those people in and getting responses, and then getting interviews, and to land that job. Don't just get stuck on one job. Apply, follow up if you feel necessary, then move on to the next one, and just keep moving like that. But following up helps.
Excellent. So we're gonna move along in the process. Now you have the acceptance offer. They give you an offer. Now it's up to you to accept. Now, this is just how I feel. I go on Pinterest because to me, I get a lot of ideas from Pinterest, from fashion to food to decorating. But most importantly, I go on the Pinterest for like motivational quotes, and also specifically for professional endeavors, like the type of questions you ask in the interview, which I strongly suggest to people, and I'm pretty sure, Brandon, you will also agree. Ask questions in the interview. Please don't be in there on mute.
Yes. Prepare your questions ahead of time. Have a list of 4 to 5 questions, because a lot of interviews these days, they're moving kind of quick because it's all virtual. So you hop on the screen, they hop on the screen. Usually the first half is them interviewing you. Then they want to see what type of questions that you are going to ask, to see your level of interest, your level of expertise. If you're applying for a higher level management position, but then you're in there asking like, well, are we off on the weekend, stuff like that? It's like, maybe you're not the right fit for this job, So have those questions prepped ahead of time. That is so important. Plus, it's going to engage a conversation. People aren't just looking to see if you are going to be able to do the job. They're looking to see, are you a good fit for the team? Are you somebody that I can work with day to day? Or if I bring you in, are you going to be able to help my team and blend in well and be a good fit? Or are you going to come in here and cause me a bunch of problems? They're looking for a personality match as well. So ask those questions, open up, show a little bit of personality.
Excellent. Thank you for saying that. Because like sometimes I'm like, how do you not research the company? You got to research the company. Know who you're working for, because guess what? While they may turn around and love you, you might hate them just based off, you know what I mean? Like you get in, you're like, ooh. But it's like those are things that you could avoid had you done a little research. Had you asked questions like, okay, so why are you still here? What has kept you at this company for so long? What are the benefits, like what are the benefits for you of working at this particular organization? And then but sometimes I do feel like you have hiring managers who can be intimidated of who they're interviewing, because they feel like, oh, wait a minute, this person is way too good. They could come in and snatch my spot. Do you feel like you've seen some of that in your line of work? You've seen some hiring managers who have been like a little biased or prejudice, again, not based off of sex or identity or anything like that, but simply because this candidate has such a strong professional background. They've been like, oh no, not here.
Have I actually seen it happen during the interview process? No. Do I feel like it happens? Yes. I more so see it happen when people are already in jobs and the manager may see somebody who is growing and getting better at their job, and in fear that this person is doing too good, they're performing too well, they might in turn replace me or get a spot where they are my peer and overshadow what I'm doing over here. That I feel like happens. But within these interview processes, you never really know. And it may not be that you are intimidating the manager that you're going to outperform them. The person's skills may be above what the rest of the team skills are. So it may not be a fit on that side where you have somebody who is way more experienced than the rest of your team. And the manager may not think, okay, use this person to develop it skill set up, but they're just too far gone. They're going to make the rest of the team look bad. So I'm not. I'm just going to move on to somebody else.
Gotcha. So, let me ask this. Oh, don't do that to me. When you go into a position, and let's say that the salary is stated, do you have the right to want to negotiate a different salary?
Yes. Yes. Ask. The worst they can say is no. But I'll say this much. Don't just go in and ask for more money. Prep yourself with what you're going to say are the reasons why you should be paid more. Okay. So whether it's skills,
Mm-hmm.
previous experience, your degrees, your certifications, have some weight to be able to ask for more money. A lot of times when you get a job offer, they will say, okay, person, you're going to make this offer. You're going to offer this amount, but if they ask for more, you can go up to this amount. But that second amount is not going to be
Uh-huh.
discussed. So at least go in there prepared to ask for more, because a lot of times they have more. They're just going to try to get you to accept the lower amount. So always ask,
Right.
but quantify your ask as to why you should be able to get that much money.
Gotcha. Okay, because that's great because I feel like sometimes, especially on these job applications, I feel like it can be a little intrusive when they want to know how much you made in another job. I'm like, and whose business is that?
They will.
Excuse me, excuse me, sir. It's like you holding the door. You no. I said we're
Yes.
closed. Like you in my
Yep.
business. Like why do you need to know that? What you gonna pay me? That's what you need to be talking about.
You know what? I think this is going to be my assumption. I've seen that on applications, but I really think that they're trying to see if you are in range. Some people are
Mm,
too expensive. Some people come in there and they state their amount is too low, so they think that okay, you have a good resume, but your skills don't match it because you're not asking for enough money. You need to be in range to the
mm.
job. Some people come in, they've got the skills, but they're asking for 20 grand more than the salary. You're not in range. So you have to keep that in mind. So if you can, give a ballpark range, but don't be afraid to ask for what you're worth. And if the company is really
Mm.
interested, then they will negotiate with you. Okay, but ask for it. But also, you said you don't like Glassdoor, but here we go. Glassdoor sometimes will give you salaries. People can go in anonymously
Mm-hmm.
and put the salary that they made at X job at X company. So at least you can kind of see. But also, they will also recruiters can post a job and they can put that the salary is whatever. Salary is 40 to 50,000. But here's the thing:
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they may lowball the salary to get once again to filter people out to be like, oh, that's too low. I'm not working for that. But those who actually go through it and get the offer may not be 40 to 50. The offer may be 55 to 65. But you wouldn't know unless you actually
Mm-hmm.
went through the process. So another way to weed people out. But just do your research on the salary. Ask for what you feel like you are worth, and if they make an offer and you ask for more, just be ready to quantify it.
Okay. So then, um, what type of mindset, Brandon, do you feel like you need to have when you're going for the gusto, when you've gotten to the point you're like, you know what, I am sick of this
Mm-hmm.
job. It not even necessarily you sick of the job, but maybe like, you know what, I'm ready to move on to something else. I have been able to acquire skills I have the experience, and now I'm ready to take this and go to another level with it. What type of mindset do you need to have? Because we've talked about it. There's a lot of
Yes.
rejection. There's a lot of the waiting game. There's a lot of sometimes toying with your emotions, clapping after your presentation and being like,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am, we don't we
Right.
don't want you. So, what do you feel like are some things that help you with the process, and maybe some things that you tell your clients when they are applying for positions? What is the like three things that you feel like type of mindset that you need to have when you're embarking upon the job search
Okay.
journey?
All right. So number one thing I tell them is, like you said, there's a lot of rejection when you go in and start applying for jobs. So for me, when somebody comes to me and they're like, okay, Brandon, I love this job. I interviewed, I didn't get it. Okay. The answer was no. For me, no stands for next opportunity. Okay. Evidently that
Okay, bring.
evidently that job was not meant for you, because if it was, you would have gotten it. But that also means that there's another
Mm-hmm,
opportunity out there for you. You just got to keep going until you find it. Okay. So that's one thing. And I'll say another thing that I'm good for is, when you can't go, if you knock at the door and it won't open, go through the window. Like I said, there are other ways to get
mm-hmm,
jobs um, other than just going through these job posting sites. And one of those ways is networking. Now, for me, when people start talking to me about networking, I'm an introvert that works in extrovert roles. When you tell me networking, I'm like, oh God, I have to go out here and talk to people I don't know. I don't want to do that. That's too much. So, but for me, what I have seen in networking, it's not about going out and meeting all these other people. It's about, who do you know? And when I say you know somebody, you don't have to know their mom or their grandmother or where they're from. It's about just knowing somebody. So recently, and I'll just do a personal share
mm-hmm,
real quick. Recently, I was able to get another job. Um, One of the people that was in the hiring process, I know him. At the time, did I know his phone number? Did I knew his name? I knew of him because we had
mm-hmm,
worked for sister companies before, and I had worked with him. But outside
mm-hmm,
of that, I did not know him, and I realized I hadn't talked to the man in over 2 years. But the thing was, I knew him.
mm-hmm,
So think about, who do you know?
mm-hmm.
You know, just because somebody knows somebody, it doesn't have to be a strong connection for them to be like, yeah, they're a good person, here's their resume, you should interview them. So just
Mm-hmm.
use that mindset, as well as to go about it different ways. Call people, reconnect with people that you used to talk to years ago, rebuild those friendships when the world got busy and everybody just kind of went on about their own way. Reconnect, because you never know who is hiring. You never know who started a business and needs some help with it. There's different opportunities to be able to get into a job, or just different opportunities to different ways to make money. So that's how I went about it during the pandemic. I got frustrated applying for jobs. So I was like, forget it. I'm just going to start my own company. And I did just that. But eventually ended up getting a job.
Right.
So, but there's just other ways to go about it. So first thing, no means next opportunity. Next thing, if you can't go through the door, go through the window, find a different way to go about it. And the last thing I'm going to say is, when it comes to mindset, have an abundance mindset. The topic here was job intimidation. Okay. Me coming from a
Mm-hmm.
company that I worked at my previous job for 10 years. Okay. So my mindset was always, if I go to another company, maybe a company that's more advanced technology wise, am I going to be enough? Am I going to be able to keep up with everything else? But the
Mm-hmm.
mindset is, now that I've actually done it, is that, yeah, you can do it. Yeah, I can do it. I got in here and I realized, I'm like, okay, this is much more fast paced than my previous company. But yeah, I can keep up with this. I can run circles around this. So just having that mindset that you
Right.
can do it. You can find another job. you can go out and make more money than the money that you are making right now. Just having that abundance mindset. I was talking to my pastor maybe about 6 weeks ago, and me and him were just talking, and we were talking about jobs and salaries. And he said, he was like, yeah, because you can get by on that. And I was like, get by? Oh gosh. Who wants to just get by? You know? And
Say that.
that's
What?
exactly.
Get by? That's getting by is when you trying to get down the aisle and somebody's standing in your way and you saying,
Exactly.
excuse me. That
That's
get by.
that when I tell you that rung in my head so loud when he said you can get by, because who wants to just get by? You can have more than enough in your life. You just have to have the right mindset that you deserve it and know that it is coming. That's when you keep going through no's, you have to keep that in your mind. My job opportunity is coming. When I wasn't working, I'm like, I got rent, I got bills. There is no way that God put me in this situation. I'm gonna get put out in the street. That's not happening. He is going to give me something, and sure enough, it came, and it came different than I thought it was, but it came, and it came in two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, just have that abundance mindset of more than enough. You are more than enough. You are going to bring in more than enough, and better is coming. So you have to ditch that scarcity mindset, that lack, fear mindset, and just go for it.
I'm gonna need for us to y'all need to pass around this collection plate right now because Brandon just gave a word. Okay, he came up in here and testified, gave y'all some tips, and then gave y'all a word. Pass. We got a love offering coming up for Brandon. Okay, and the love offering comes in the form of you going over to his page and signing up
Yes.
for his services. Brandon, tell them all the services that you provide through your company, and please plug it in, spell it out, let them know how they can contact you, how
Okay,
they can get in
perfect.
contact.
So first thing, my company's name is ES Consulting, ES standing for Educated Son, ES Consulting Agency. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. My email is esconsultingagency@gmail.com. Now, on both Facebook and on Instagram, I do have my links in the bio. So best way to get in contact with me is to send me an email, or I do have a Calendly link on my page where you can book a 15-minute resume consultation. So that means you can just go in there, submit your information, book a time. I'll give you a call, and then we can discuss what it is that you're trying to do. It could be just help with your career. It could be with your business. I do have business clients as well. Maybe you're a business who normally got their flow of customers in a way, and now in this digital space, in this pandemic, you cannot get your customers the same way. You have to move online. I've definitely helped companies with that as well. So just send me an email, or if you're trying to book time for a resume or career consultation, just hop on my link on Calendly and book a time, and we can talk.
Excellent. Brandon, I just want to thank you so much for bringing your expertise to the podcast. It is amazing to have known you all of these years and just see how you've grown and elevated.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, just been such a business minded individual that during this pandemic, you say, you know what, I may not be working for somebody,
You
but I
got
can
it.
work for myself. There are things that I can. I commend you because that can be
Yes.
a little daunting for some of us, and so I definitely commend you for being able to recognize your skill sets and to quantify them and to make a profit. So that's,
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's excellent. That's it's very admirable, and I wish nothing but success for you. And hopefully, we will hear more things from you in the future, and we would love to have you
Definitely.
back. I've greatly enjoyed your time here, and I've greatly enjoyed you all listening in with us. Just know going forward, because Brandon told me my mindset got to be
There
right.
you
My
go.
abundance mindset is right. Just because I want to do because I had been laid off from COVID-19 out here hustling, making things happen. I am definitely recommitting myself to bringing you new content every 24th day of each month. So this is the relaunch of To Whom It May Concern. Hood Professionals. Again, my special co-host was Brandon King with ES Consulting Agency. Please look him up on Facebook and Instagram. Also, he said his email is esconsultingagency@gmail.com. Send him a email. Let him go over your resume. A lot of you know your resume is raggedy. It's got dust on it, and you need somebody to help you out with that thing. You don't went and copied and paste off of Google and put your job description on there. You know you have. Yes, I'm calling you out. You get up with Brandon, and we will see you next
Hey,
time.
no
Brandon, thank you
problem.
so
Thank you for
much.
having me. I really appreciate it.